Good morning, everyone. Secretary Radu, will you please call the roll?
Regent Bartel?
Here.
Regent Bradley? Here. Regent Crane? Here. Regent Danae Davis? Regent Danae Davis? Regent Stan Davis? Regent Drew?
Here.
Regent Evers? Regent Falbo?
Here.
Regent Loftus?
Here.
Regent Manydeeds?
Here.
Regent Pruitt?
Here.
Regent Schwallenberg? Here. Regent Smith?
Here.
Regent Spector?
Here.
Regent Vasquez? Regent Walsh?
Here.
Regent Wingad? Regent Womack? A quorum is present.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone. It is, I think everyone found it slightly easier to get to Madison this morning than they did a year ago when we were being challenged by 18-plus inches of snow, as I recall, and the Chancellor was calling off school right and left. I think we are bringing our show, as you know, this month to UW-Madison as our host campus. But really the show is not ours. The show is this extraordinary university. And I want to start by thanking Chancellor Martin and her team for already their warm hospitality. Also wanted to make special note and thanks to the UW system staff. Emily Gleason was in the parking ramp for several hours today, just as an individual contribution. This is, as we all know, an extraordinary university, and one of only 4 public universities in the top 20 universities in America. And that did not happen by accident, and it did not happen overnight. And it is a testament to the people that run this place and participate in this place, that they have both achieved and maintained that status. And I know we're going to be hearing a lot more this morning and throughout the next 2 days about much of the work that is going on here. And to kick it off this morning, I am going to turn the floor over to our host. But before I do need to make note of one thing, which was last night there was something of a big showdown at the Kohl Center. Chancellor Biddy Martin was challenged by Interim Chancellor Mike Lovell to a free throw shooting contest at the UW-Madison game. Biddy sank 12 of 16 free throws. Mike had a very respectable but somewhat disappointing 9 for 14. I'm not sure that Mike was aware when he issued this challenge that Chancellor Martin, in an earlier life, held the high school scoring record for the state of Virginia in basketball, underscoring that you should always be careful what you ask for. So without any further ado, let me turn it over to Chancellor Biddy, a.k.a. Devin Harris Martin.
I want to thank Mike Lovell for letting me win last night, and also correct the record. I held the record for my high school, but not for the entire state of Virginia. I don't think my fellow Virginians would be happy to hear that. I want to start by thanking you, welcoming you. We're delighted to have everyone here, the regents, chancellors, provosts of other campuses, staff, and media. Thank you very much for coming and taking an interest in UW-Madison. I want to thank in particular, before I start, Becky Mangini, who led the effort to organize our programs, along with Tricia Dickinson, Amy Toburin, Heidi Zorb, Eden Inouye Ronnie, Peter Kleppen, and Scott Hildebrand. And I'd like to thank them along with Georgine Pomplin, who organized the social part of the program. Thank you very much to them. So we've been given permission to take an hour and 5 minutes instead of an hour so that we can show you the slideshow that our staff worked so hard to put together. It was playing when you came in, but I'm sure that you weren't able to pay attention to it, and I hate for them to have gone to so much trouble without having it be shown. So could we show that, and then I'll introduce Dean Bousquet. So, excuse me, I'm a little ill today. We're here to talk to the Regents and to the community about the importance of having a presence in China and why we're spending our time there. I am going to be very brief and then introduce Dean Gilles Bousquet, who heads up our international relations and is also Vice Provost for Global Affairs. We have multiple aims, obviously, to improve the quality of the education we offer at UW-Madison by ensuring that our undergraduate students as well as our graduate students have opportunities to learn more about this important part of the world, but also to study there, to get internships with businesses there. This time we met with 6 Wisconsin-based companies in Beijing and asked them about their willingness to take interns from our undergraduate student body. We want to attract investment from East Asia to Wisconsin, and we are there to help them understand that the kinds of discoveries that people ought to be investing in occur not only on the east and west coast of the United States, but that the best kept secret when it comes to research and technology development is Madison, Wisconsin. So we're there also to elevate the brand not only of the university but the state of Wisconsin itself. We're building a range of different kinds of relationships. I believe Dean Bousquet will talk to you about those. Some are institution to institution, in addition to supporting the collaborations on the ground that faculty and students are building themselves. Tomorrow, there will be a delegation from the University of Shanghai Jiaotong, which is where the rankings of world universities are actually done, but not by the administration there. There's a delegation of 7, including the president of Jiaotong, who will be visiting UW-Madison tomorrow to pursue collaboration, and that's just one of many such visits. The students benefit directly, obviously, as I said, by virtue of student exchange, internship possibilities, study abroad, but also what we offer on campus as an opportunity for them to learn something about China and Greater China. And I want to turn it over to Dean Bousquet to tell you a little bit more. And then I'll give you a heads up about the rest of the program. We have a wonderful student, Matt Payne, who's going to talk about his experiences in Tianjin, where we have a summer program, and what he intends to do with his life going forward. And I will then interview the great professor of political science, the Hawkins professor of political science, Ed Friedman, who's been going to China for decades, does research there, and went with Irv Shane, who was one of the first university presidents to go to China after Nixon went and opened it up. So Ed's been going for decades. He will answer questions in the knowledgeable and witty way that only Ed Friedman can do. So I turn it over to Gilles Bousquet.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good morning, Regents. Good morning, Chancellors and guests and colleagues. I'm very happy to give you highlights of the trips that the Chancellor led, and particularly do this in the context of the strength of in China studies at UW-Madison, and also with some points about the relevance of this trip given the role that places like China, but also India and Brazil, play in on today's economic and geopolitical stage. So, next, please. So, as you can see from this slide, UW-Madison is really depth and breadth in China studies, and this goes back decades. We've also some distinguished centers, federally funded Center for East Asian Studies, a center in East Asian legal studies, that has trained dozens of legal professionals all over China, but in particular in Shanghai and Beijing. There are dozens of projects and exchange relationships, and currently 30 faculty across campus teach courses about China in a range of disciplines: law, religion, history, popular culture, sociology. So the humanities and social sciences in the professional schools, and increasingly in the sciences as well. The China connections, the flows between China and Wisconsin are very strong. We have about 2,000 degree-seeking students at UW-Madison from China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And in a decade, you can see we went from 100 scholars to about 425 scholars being here. Scholars, namely PhD students, postdoc researchers, on campus. Every semester, more than 300 students study modern and classical Chinese. And this is also very, very important for the relationships and for the relationship with our partners with China. 178 of our students spend time studying abroad. This is a very good number, but is it good enough? No. We want to make, the Chancellor and I want to make China the #1 study abroad destination for our students. And remember, I come from France, so it's always a very popular life. And about 1,700 UW alumni currently live in China, and many of them in key positions. You'll see what some of the meetings our alumni have been able to broker for us. It's just mind-boggling how well they've done and how warm, what a warm spot they have for this institution for Wisconsin. Because we have so many things going on about China, in 2007, we wanted to bring more coordination to our China effort and focus the campus on expanding, deepening and expanding education and research about China to have a clear point of contact for the campus, but also for the state, for the public. Say, what are you doing about China? And since this was so decentralized, we wanted to have a central point of contact about our China effort, disseminate knowledge more effectively to benefit Wisconsin citizens, but also partnering with business and government entities about China. So we brought together a group of faculty around the China Initiative. The director is Professor John Onesork from the law school. But also we wanted to have an external perspective to our China efforts. So we created an external advisory board for the China Initiative with about 20 leaders from the U.S. and from China, from business and from government, who is giving us feedback and advice about how to approach the Wisconsin-China relationship. As the Chancellor presented, 1 year, 2 trips. Now, this is important for the Chinese because they, one trip, a lot of chancellors and presidents do 1 trip and they go. We have actually shown that, and the Chancellor herself, the leader of the institution, has been on the ground visiting them more than once. And it's very meaningful for our Chinese partners. So this is a little bit of a summary of the 2 trips with various events, so partner university visits, alumni, friends, media coverage, economic development events, as well as high-level government, business, or individual events. And you can see that we hit all of the major China markets, and in each of the visits, there were a range of events from engagement with students to meeting with business, economic leaders, to high government visit, and that together is really enhanced the profile of Wisconsin. So the goals of the trip, as the Chancellor mentioned, increase UW-Madison visibility in China and East Asia, develop strategic relationship with top China universities, and we are now engaged significantly with all the top universities, the 10 or 12 universities that are really leading the growth of China universities. And there will be many other collaborations that our faculty and exchange the students will have, but we want at the level of institutions to have a few strategic relationships and institutionalize this relationship. Deepen alumni relations and meet top prospects, and we did, particularly on the 2nd trip. Assist in recruitment of the most talented Chinese students who can go anywhere in the world, but we want the most talented to come to this university. And assist the state in its China economic development efforts. We feel the university, all our universities, have assets to contribute to the state economic efforts, and China is the place where growth is happening, the engine of growth. And China, the India, the Brazil, and I think our institutions have some of these key connections. A summary of some of the major hits: 13 universities visited, 7 MOUs signed, 5 business and economic events, ranging from meeting with the head of the Wisconsin companies in Beijing, to a major talk to China American Chamber of Commerce in Taipei, 8 VIP events, more than 450 alumni, parents, students in attendance in the events, and we met also with the parents of students at UW-Madison. And as a result, of course, more traffic back here. 9 delegations from China visited UW-Madison since April, and as the Chancellor said, we have one that's coming, actually arriving this afternoon and visiting all day tomorrow. The institutional outcomes are also impressive. We've been invited by Tsinghua University, which is essentially the MIT, today the top university, the #1 university, to put in place a service learning exchange where Chinese students will come here and do service learning projects, and our students will do the same in China. And the director of the Mortgage Center is actually there right now, finalizing that agreement and that program. We signed a major agreement with Zhejiang in biomedical engineering. The Chinese Champions program has been up and running in 3 months from the time that the Chancellor signed the agreement in Beijing to the time that the champions have arrived. And the Chancellor has extended this program for the next 3 years. We have a pre-college program in the pilot phase. And we received a wonderful, wonderful gift from Taiwan, 30-feature film, which is going to be also plugged in the film studies program that we have here on campus, which is one of the best in the world. The media presence was just outstanding. And you can see here a list, not only television, the Chancellor did several interviews. They were widely disseminated, newspapers, radio, magazines, and also connecting with major media groups in Shanghai or here in Taiwan. And of course, during those trips, through the social media, Twitter and Facebook, we were connecting back here in UW-Madison and getting some reactions from the students and the faculty here, as well as sending some messages from there. I want to show you one of these articles, because I think to me it's a little bit emblematic of what the Chancellor has been able to do. China Daily, this is the last trip when we presented this sweatshirt to the Vice President of Beijing Sports University. China Daily, and this was an article in Chinese. So the article said in the end, this is the first time in the history of New China that such a large group of elite athletes has been sent abroad to study. But this is two things. This is an official sanction by the Chinese news of this program, and this is also the China official news wire. So this was picked up by major media markets around China and also by Asian Americans here in this country. And we heard from somebody from New Jersey who had seen this article. So we estimate that more than 20 million people have seen this article, and you can see what it says. It says Wisconsin. Wisconsin, and a wonderful program with Beijing Sports University. The business contacts were also impressive, not only at the government level with the Chinese Investment Promotion Agency that does both investment in China, but more importantly, foreign direct investments, control the foreign direct investments. Mayor of Tianjin City that had an interest in some of our technology. It's just about 12 million people, right? Leaders, provincial leaders from Inner Mongolia and Heilongjiang, which is a state sister province, flew to Beijing to meet with the Chancellor, and we had about a 3-hour meeting with them. These provinces are obviously very strong in dairy, agriculture, environment, and they are very eager to partner with Wisconsin. We've extended an invitation to these leaders to come to Wisconsin and to see how we can broker some relationship with business. We met with the senior managers of Wisconsin companies, and we have somebody right now who has gone back to work with those companies to secure internships for our students. And the Chancellor spoke at the Taiwan American Chamber of Commerce. That's a huge organization. And the talk was extremely well received because it was about universities and economic development. And East Asia is very eager to see how this is done, how this works. Well, of course, never wish for too much traffic, but we've had a number of delegations back here in Wisconsin, not only universities, but also provinces. And some of the chancellors here and President Riley has been involved in one of the visits, Shaanxi province, Anhui province, that came back here because they're interested in the technologies that we have. They're interested in partnering. Zhejiang University's East China Normal, and this afternoon Shanghai Jiaotong, will be visiting. And again, this is an opportunity for us to deepen the relationship again at the strategic and institutional levels. So looking forward, definitely strategic academic relations, innovative programs such as the internships, the service learning exchange, graduate collaboration, economic development. We feel that we can play a role seriously in economic development, not only through the students that we're training, and we heard from the Wisconsin companies that it was a very interesting meeting. It was a very genuine exchange where the Wisconsin company, the head said, you know, this is a very complex environment here in which we do business. It's a very changing environment. Yes, we want students who are able to negotiate that complexity and who are able to speak Chinese, who've been here, and I think there's a hunger from our global companies to be connected to the talent that we produce. And also, our alumni are very dedicated to Wisconsin, and they are an incredible resource for us as well. What was clear in the talks that the Chancellor did is that there was very strong traction in China for the Wisconsin idea. The idea that a university can harness the power of research and education to have, through innovation, to have an impact on the challenges that we face was really resonated with the Chinese. Because, you know, they're very aware of the magnitude of challenges that China has in environment, in education, in economics, health. And we're going in this relationship in a sort of humble way and saying, we've had problems too. We've had environmental, but we've worked on them and we've fixed some of them, and the Chinese understand that and they're willing to partner. And so I think the Wisconsin idea is sort of our unique brand there in China, and I think that the Chinese have caught on this and they want to partner because they know that the university does work on campus but also reaches out to partners. So thank you very much. I'm happy if you have any questions. But thank you. Okay. I'm pleased to introduce one of the students I was talking about, Matt Payne. Matt? Oh, please. Matt is a student majoring in economics and Chinese. He's a student from Minnesota, Rochester, Minnesota. He's a junior, and he went on our Tianjin program, which is a summer intensive program where they do the equivalent of a year-long of Chinese in just the summer. Congratulations. The floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Matt Payne. I'm a student here. I'm majoring in Chinese and economics. I just want to say hi to my Chinese friends. 你好，朋友，谢来我们的大学。我希望你可以体验美国的文化，也可以看我们的美国足球在 the Rose Bowl next month. So, 好吧？好。Thank you. It's an honor to speak to you today about a subject that I feel very passionate about, and that's China. I began studying Chinese because I figured, well, quite frankly, if I could communicate with another fifth of the world, there'd be some opportunities that were open to me. I know that my competition isn't just sitting next to me in my Econ 301 lecture. Rather they're sitting in lecture halls in Beijing and Shanghai. China's been growing by leaps and bounds, not only in my lifetime, but it will be growing well into the 21st century. I want to share with you some of my experiences and why I think China is important to the future of UW. I actually had the opportunity to study abroad in Tianjin, which is pretty close to Beijing, and I went through the UW Tianjin Study Abroad program. I'd been learning the language here for 2 years, and I felt pretty confident going to China, and I was able to get around with the language ability that I had. I studied at Nankai University, which is the fourth best university in China. It's really great that the UW has such a close connection with such a reputable university and a reputable school. The program was pretty rigorous academically. We spent 4 hours in the morning in a very small group learning the language, daily quizzes, followed by, at least after lunch, we'd have at least an hour of one-on-one tutoring, which was really great for practicing. And of course, just being in China, being immersed in the language and the culture in a city like Tianjin, it was really a great opportunity. Most of the day was spent studying the next 40 to 50 words we had to learn for the next day. Which was pretty difficult after a while. It got kind of tiring, but by the end of it, my Chinese improved a lot. I mean, I was able to have a full conversation about almost anything I wanted for an hour and a half with someone from on the way from actually Inner Mongolia to Beijing. I talked to him for an hour and a half in Chinese, and that was kind of towards the end of my program. Like, wow, I've really learned a lot. I actually went on a 10-day trip. Part of the program is you go on a 10-day trip, and you're expected to travel around China and a small group and come back with a report. So we went to Inner Mongolia, and we rode camels, slept in the Gobi Desert. It was a great experience. And everywhere we went, we were asked to take pictures, sign autographs, because Inner Mongolia never really saw foreigners. So, that kind of speaks to a larger thing. One thing I noticed was that everywhere I went in China, whether it was Inner Mongolia, Harbin, Tianjin, Beijing, they all loved Americans, and they loved hearing about where we were from. They loved hearing about who I was and why I was here, and that was something that really struck me as interesting. As for my future plans, after I graduate, I'm hoping to move to China and maybe work or start my own business. I'm also considering going into naval intelligence or some sort of government organization and be able to use my Chinese skills and economic skills that I have after I graduate here. And that's kind of what I'm... right now I'm looking actually for an internship in China, so if there are any CEOs in here, it'd be great to talk. I have my resume in the car, I think, but... I'm also in the process of starting a new student organization on campus called Global China Connection, which we plan to host speakers and connect with Chinese universities and provide networking opportunities for students interested in China. The value of my degree here from UW comes largely from what I put into it. But I know it also comes from the opportunities and the resources that I have that the university provides for me. I would never have been able to experience what I did in China if it weren't for the fact that UW offered a program whereby I could study the language in such an extraordinary way. As China's impact in the world grows, so too will its impact on campus. 50% of the incoming freshmen this year were actually from China. International freshmen were from China. And making sure we have a strong relationship with that part of the world holds, in my opinion, nearly unlimited potential for the University of Wisconsin in the future. China and the state of Wisconsin share many similar economic characteristics, namely the importance of agriculture and industry. Allowing students to take advantage of those opportunities in those fields and in others will strengthen the value of a degree from here and will allow graduates to attain even higher levels of success. Providing scholarships, creating more study abroad opportunities, and collaborating with Chinese universities will directly impact what I get out of a degree from here. Furthermore, making sure we have an active alumni network will help people like me who are interested in going to China and working in China, and that's important. Finally, and I talked about it more in detail in my article, which a few of you may have. I write for the Daily Cardinal. I'm an opinion columnist, and I talked about the need to stay competitive with Chinese higher education. As I said earlier, in today's hyper-competitive global economy, my competition isn't just sitting next to me, it's sitting in China and Beijing. And I think, similarly, the UW is no longer just competing with other educational institutions within, Harvard, Cornell, Stanford, Ohio State, whatever, in attracting the best and brightest minds. We're competing with the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Tsinghua, Nankai University, and countless other institutions in China. And so finally, China is a gold rush of the 21st century, in my opinion. I hope that the university will continue to maintain a presence in China and further expand upon the great work that we've been doing there. The investments we make now in China will really benefit our university in the state of Wisconsin for years to come. Thank you.
thanks to Matt and also to Gilles. So with no further ado, where's Ed? Ed Friedman, whom I've sort of already introduced. I think people intended that we would sit there and chat, but then no one will see or hear you, and that would indeed be a shame. So Ed, come over here. And can we stand together? So Ed, as I said, is the Hawkins Professor of Political Science. He went, as I said, with Irv Shane to China when it first opened and has been going and doing research ever since. Ed, I gave you some questions that I thought you might want to address, a little about your own work, but I think what people would be most interested in hearing is how, from your point of view, China has changed and what the challenges and opportunities are going forward. And I'll interrupt you if you don't talk about any of those.
How China has changed. This on?
Take this one.
How China has changed. Well, I was part of the first academic group allowed in to do research in China. They made the decision when they decided if they were going to catch up with the world, they had to send their students and scholars and scientists abroad, that you had to do it in a reciprocal way. And so I was a part of the first guinea pig group to see how they would handle foreigners. That was in May 1978. There was not a single private car in Beijing that you could see. In government offices in Beijing, only 2% had landline phones. China is another universe today. China very soon will be the largest economy in the world. The Chinese government is just committed for the next 5 years over 1 trillion Chinese renminbi a year to lead technologies. China is already a world leader in things like wind power and electric cars. If you care to be the best of the best, the only best way to do it is you have to plug in with the people who are at the frontiers. And so I think that is what you're doing, that is what we're doing, and that is the direction we should be going in if we care about our university, our state, and our students.
Wow, so that crystallized it. Ed, try in any way you want to give us even more visual, a more visual sense, as I know you can do, of what it's like now compared to before. And I know that at least one of our regents wanted to ask a question about human rights, something about which you know a very great deal, and so maybe you could touch on that too.
Okay, well, I'll start with where you ended up. So as everybody, I'm sure knows, the Nobel Prize for Peace will be awarded on December 10th to an empty seat in Oslo, Norway, for a Chinese supporter of gradual democratization who's in prison in China, named Liu Xiaobo. And so there is no doubt that China is a major human rights violator, and there's no reason to expect any change in that, and does greatly complicate relations. But there's also something else going on. Sadly, when you talk about China, you end up saying things which are contradictions, and both are true at the same time. It's not that one is the truth and the other is a lie. You could ask any of the Chinese here what their experience of life is, and their basic experience in life is that China now allows an enormous amount of personal space for people inside of China, and they basically experience themselves as free people. As you can see, they can travel here and take any classes they want to take. So the way most Chinese would say it is, China has never had it so good. So both things are true at the same time. There's a religious revival all over China, which is rather extraordinary, and China represses a religion if you're thought of as a politically dangerous religion. So it's a very complicated kind of place. We're not supposed to be naive about it. But I think the correct way is the way that the Chancellor's program is going. It's not just a banner of the rising China. The world is changing. And the 7 largest economies in the world soon are called the E7, emerging market economies: China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, Turkey, and 2 others. And the weight of their economy in the world in a few years will be larger than that of the G7, the 7 largest industrialized democracies. So your program, correctly so, is about rethinking the whole globalized nature of this university and this world. And China, of course, is an extraordinarily significant part of that. And it is complex and contradictory, but again, it's the right place to go.
Anything else that you think is significant about our trips, about what's
Oh,
going on?
absolutely. Okay. So, as the Chancellor said, this university has been involved with China for the longest time. When the monarchy was overthrown in 1911, the first ambassador to the new Republic of China in 1912 was a member of this university, in fact, a member of my department. And we have historically had the first and greatest Buddhist studies program that gave out PhDs in the United States of America. There is no part of this faculty that has not on its own become deeply involved with China, because it's an extraordinarily energetic, robust, dynamic place with whatever its problems are. In the universities, it's full of lazy, corrupt people, but it's also full of people who are going to become world leaders and are doing world-class kind of work. And hopefully we have people who can distinguish one from the other, please God. But as the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor Bousquet said, we haven't had a brand in Wisconsin. We're a decentralized place. Everybody's on his or her own. Nobody knows it represents Wisconsin. We don't have the benefits of scale. We don't have the benefits of integration. We don't even have the benefits of knowing what one part of the university is doing in another part of the university. We have some great programs. The medical school has a program of providing glasses to parts of rural China to people who never could see, get their eyes examined. And what's happening here, what the Chancellor is doing, is just they said, is they are creating a brand called Wisconsin. They are making us all aware of each other. We are going to get tremendous synergies. We are already getting tremendous synergies. Even in this 1 year and these two visits, the presence and the awareness of the category Wisconsin is way, way up. So this is a way, in terms of the Chancellor's work in the China Initiative, to get an extraordinary larger bang for the buck, rather than having each little part frittering it away, as has been the case in the past. So you can't help but be totally supportive of this kind of work. And if you don't know it, flying back and forth over the Pacific is hard work. It's not the funnest thing in the world to do. So this is good stuff that's being done by people who can imagine a lot of happier ways to spend their time. And I think our students, our alumni, our state, and our business, indeed, are all going to benefit from it.
So before we turn it to see if the Regents have any questions, Ed, I know Mike Lovell was recently in China, and I'm guessing that some of the other chancellors have been as well. It seems to me there are great opportunities, given the parents and students we met there, to leverage what presence we can gain in China to bring more students not only to UW-Madison but other campuses that are interested. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
So absolutely. I mean, you know, since we emailed last night, last night, as I do regularly, I had a long dinner with faculty throughout the state who do the same, teach Chinese politics as I do. We were in Fort Atkinson, including people not just from the state campuses, but Beloit and Marquette. And I think that this is indeed the case, that this campus sees itself as very much part of the whole state of Wisconsin. We are not an isolated place called Madison, Wisconsin. And we would hope that everything that we were doing here reaches out not only to the world, but back again to the entire citizenry of the state of Wisconsin. I think the faculty, the alumni, and the administration here are totally dedicated in that kind of a direction. It is on Wisconsin, and I think we all want to make it work for Wisconsin.
I'm guessing that you all might want to. We have a few minutes for questions for Ed, if anybody would like to ask them. Yeah, Tom, you were first.
Well, I was the regent asking about human rights. And thank you for your answer. I had the opportunity to go to China in 1981 with Governor Dreyfus, a wonderful man to travel with. I was the majority leader of the assembly at the time, and he relished in introducing me to the Chinese, saying that this person is of the opposite political party. We have two parties. The idea there is a majority leader was not sinking in a one-party state. We met a graduate of the class of 1927. Many people asked in very private moments if there was a way to get their children to Madison. So I even went to Heilongjiang and signed the sister state relationship. But I say, and then I went to China in 2007 with Governor Doyle. So I mean, amazing change. And your two realities is correct. And I say yes, engage, yes, nurture relationships, welcome students, send students, be a main presence in intellectual life. But there is, as you stated, another reality, and that is that there will be an empty chair in Oslo. And I'm sure we all assume that if the question ever became one of human rights or our relationship, that we wouldn't go all wobbly at that point. Thank you.
Three comments. I agree with everything you say, of course. In 1981, I was not here to be helpful to Governor Dreyfus. At that point, I was working for the Foreign Affairs Committee in Washington as the China person, and hopefully help write the laws which normalized our economic relations. Students still want to come from China here. As I said before, college education in China is not very good, and parents make great sacrifices to get their students over here. K-12 education, I think, is better than here. But tertiary education, we're clearly worlds ahead, and they know it very much and want to take care of it. The human rights, I'm a member of Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, so I care very much about these things obviously. And I do have great fears about where China is going to go, and I say you're not allowed to be naive about these kinds of things. But it's also true that the Chinese government experiences itself in the world not the way it's usually described, an economic power that's becoming a military power. It actually thinks of itself as a moral pole, and it very much cares about its reputation in the world. It wants to be seen as a good actor in the world doing good things for the world. So it is worth taking the time not criticize, but to also understand how they think about the world. For example, they would say right now, because our economy has been booming at over 9% a year, we have held up the world economy and prevented this economic crash from being worse. They would say that our investments right now in Africa are the first thing that look like it's going to create great growth in Africa. And if you can do something which turns around the poorest parts of the world, that's really some achievement. And so, without disagreeing in the slightest, if you're going to understand China, you have to also understand how they see what they are doing in the world. And hopefully that piece of complication will be part of what we do here in our education, too.
There you go.
Thank you.
Not really.
I've had the privilege in the last 6-7 years to participate with the UW-Madison Law School's legal exchange program with the judges in Shanghai. And in fact, several years ago, I went with my wife, who is a judge, to Shanghai and a group of other judges to teach. And they didn't have anybody to teach corporate law. Judges don't know anything about corporate law, so I taught corporate law to the judges there. And we had an opportunity to meet these people. Almost all of them spoke excellent English, and get to know them. And we've hosted them here. And I was curious about their main. I asked them what their main concern is in living and working in Shanghai, and having seen us and how we operate, they weren't concerned about the legal system. They thought their legal system was working just fine. They had some. They said they could make some corrections, but based upon what they'd seen of us. But they said the one thing that we are really jealous of is your ability to have more than one child. And these are young people. These are the judges there go directly to judging. They don't go through a kind of legal career as we do here. And so these are people who are in their early 30s for the most part. And they say they were really disappointed that they could only have one child. And I'm trying to put that together with the massive growth that's taken place in China over the last 30 years. How is population control going to affect China in the years ahead? Is the one-child rule going to make a difference? Is that going to moderate the growth? Is it going to change the economic advancement? How is that going to affect it?
So despite the popularity in our country of the notion that China has a one-child policy, China has never had a one-child policy. So the reality goes something like this, that about 8 years into the new People's Republic of China, there were people who suggested, especially a fellow named Ma Ying-chu. Nicole, did I get the name right? Is that who it was, the population guy? Ma Ying-chu? No, Chu. Yeah. Oh, doesn't matter. Anyway, Mao thought that he was a bad man because Mao came to the conclusion that under socialism, I have no idea what he thought it was under capitalism, people have two hands and only one belly. And if you have two hands and only one belly, that meant somehow to Mao, the more people you had, the richer we would become. And so Mao left behind a really out-of-control population growth situation, which China was the largest, most populous country in the world. Most of them were locked up in the poor countryside and really had no future. So a program began to try to limit population control, to limit population. And it was not actually an unpopular policy. What's unpopular about the policy is how it's carried out. And here you get into the problems of how a corrupt party dictatorship actually works, which I can tell you horror stories about, but you can read them in the literature if you care. I do my own research basically in the poorest parts of the countryside. I've never seen a one-child family in my life. It's inconceivable. And actually, it's conceivable. So the real problem is the cities. The real problem is the cities. And again, there's another bad image about China that's out there, as if, because you see so many people in our part of the world who have adopted abandoned Chinese girls, it's as if Chinese don't care about their daughters. Actually, Chinese have a basic view that a good family has a dragon and a phoenix, a boy and a girl. And there's a lot of illegal adoptions of abandoned girls, which occur in the cities, where people take great risks to take care of these girls. In the countryside, the problem is that inheritance of land and stuff works through the male line. And therefore, if you don't have a girl as child number one, you begin to have problems. You're allowed a second child if you've made a mistake, is the view on the first child. But eventually, the reality is people have illegal children, and not much happens to them. What will be the future? The policy will be abandoned. The policy will be abandoned, and it's slowly being abandoned already, because China is the first country to face the problem of it's going to grow old before it grows rich. And so, as the way they put it in China, they call it a 4-2-1 problem. You got 4 grandparents, two parents, and one child who's going to be working to support all of them. And that's unsustainable. If you think you have a pension problem in the United States, you have no idea what one looks like. So they understand that. And so there are modifications which will occur. Also, one of the impacts of 4-2-1 and growing old before you go rich, the Chinese economy will slow. There's no way with that demographic that the Chinese economy will not slow in growth. And if you care, it's India's economy which is about to hit a demographic sweet spot. India this quarter has now caught up to China in growth, and all indications are looking ahead that you're going to see actually India having faster growth than China because of the demographics of the situation.
We can have one quick question from
It'll
Region
be
Wall.
quick. I have never been to China, although I got a little close thanks to the United States Navy in '67. But we can't be the first school doing this, and there must be some other major schools. My question is, in a time when we really need to dialogue with the legislature about the future of the state and university system and the ability to help out in the pursuit of 250,000 jobs, what can we do more to do better with China and this opportunity at looking at other institutions? Do we need more funds to do it? Do we need more people? Do we need a commitment from the state? Tell us what we can do to help you do a better job at it so we can do a better job for Wisconsin.
That's the Chancellor's question, not mine. I'll just give you one sentence and then she'll tell you the truth. We're coming to this late. Major universities have gotten in and gotten more deeply institutionalized long before us. And so it is really important, if we're going to take advantage of these opportunities in this newly globalized world, as I think we have to do, that we indeed understand that we are playing the game of catching up, and what the Chancellor is doing is precisely this, of catching up to people who have been institutionalizing for many, many years already.
What I would say is that we have an opportunity not only to catch up, but actually to go our own way. And what Gilles said is true. The resonance that we have found for the Wisconsin idea is actually kind of startling. But it has everything to do with the Ministry of Education in China trying to decide whether they want universities on the model of Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Cornell, or whether they want prestigious universities that are great, but also universities that serve communities. And so the Wisconsin idea has the propagation of it, and the education of people about the history of the Wisconsin idea has gotten some resonance. We will certainly need funding to do more, but having now met with Hao Ping, who's the Minister of Education of China for higher ed twice, and he set up a meeting for me with the Deputy Secretary General of State of China, who's his boss, and they both said that if we were willing to do something a little different from what all those other universities are doing, namely continue talking about and pursuing efforts that are not strictly academic, but also business-related and draw on the state's resources as well as the universities, they would help support a presence for us there. So there's opportunity to garner resources within China to do some of what we could do. What we need is to bring our faculty together, our staff, our students, decide whether there's the human capacity and the will to do something slightly different. I would love that. I think right now we're very well positioned because of the people our alumni have set us up with and some of the meetings we've had to take advantage of the generosity of some high-level Chinese officials, but to do something that wouldn't just be what Harvard or Yale or others are doing in the more or less, at least according to the Chinese, exclusively academic realm, but something that's more integrated. And I hope that we will do that, and we need to move relatively quickly. So it's not that we don't need funding. We certainly need the state to be interested, because this something different that we could do would need to replicate the tentacles back and forth, or the relations back and forth between the state and the university that have defined this university for over 150 years. So that's my answer. I'd like to do something different. We can play catch up and build more academic collaborations and exchanges. We will do that anyway. But I'd like to do something different. And I think there's interest in China in having us do something different. So anyone and everyone who's interested in playing a role in defining that, that would be great. And I think the moment is opportune because of some of the connections that we've been able to make through alumni and through some of our liaison in Beijing who are very close friends with the Minister of Education. So that's my answer to that. Let's do something different. I like doing something different. I think Wisconsin is different. We're academically as good as any of the rest of them that are hurrying over there, but we also represent something distinct, and I'd like to see us do something distinct. And now, Ed, I want to thank you, as always. Thank you. So one of the greatest success stories, and this is our final part of the program, one of the greatest success stories in our efforts to build relationships with China is the Chinese Champions program. And the Chinese Champions, our Olympic-level athletes and coach, are here with us today. They've been here since the summer. They've spent a semester working extremely hard and doing a lot of different kinds of studying, certainly English, but also kinesiology, management, training, things that put them in a position to be international leaders in sport. And that's what a lot of them intend to do. They've had a great time. It's been a great time to be at UW-Madison. We had a thrilling football season. The athletes went with me onto the field for one of the games. A couple of them even did some quite remarkable things on the field, not like Biddy shooting baskets, but really remarkable things. And they were here when President Obama came, and I believe most of you were able to see President Obama close up. Last but not least, they experienced Halloween on State Street. The athletes and coaches received a warm welcome in Eagle Heights, where they quickly became part of the international community of families in Eagle Heights. The aim of the program is obviously to provide these student athletes with a great experience, but also to provide our own students with the opportunity to get to know such remarkable young people from China. And we just made an agreement with Beijing Sport University to extend the program for 3 years. And I met about 20 to 30 athletes who will apply to come as part of the next group in the spring or summer. You all have been so generous with your time, and there is no request that's been made to these athletes and coaches that they haven't agreed to do. And several of you in this room have invited them to do things, and we thank you for that. But mostly I want to thank the athletes for your extraordinary generosity, and it's just been a great honor. 我很高兴，我很高兴，非常高兴. It's been a great honor to have you here. And now the person who conceived the program and came and asked me if I thought I could support it is Professor of Kinesiology, Li Ji, who's also the leader of the program, and just a marvelous human being. Li, why don't you come and introduce the champions, and let's give them the certificates that they've earned.
Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, the board, to give us the opportunity to introduce ourselves. I've been with this group since March, I would say, and after the Chancellor invited the group to come, it took only 3 months to have this whole group arrive on campus in the midnight summer, and they have been here for 4.5 months, and they have received a warm welcome, and they become our local Madison boys and girls. So without many words, let me introduce the group. Can I see? So first would be Coach Xie Yong. Coach Xie is the head coach of the national weightlifting team, and his highlight of his achievement is his student, Zhang Xiangxiang, received the gold medal of lightweight weightlifting in 2008 Beijing Olympics. Fu Tianyu, please stand up. Yeah. Miss Fu is she's a short track speed skater, very appropriate for Wisconsin. She has many titles and achievements, but her highlight was 2 times world champion for short track speed skating.
You all will sort them out.
I'm sorry, it's not ordered in a way in the seating, so. Liu Guozhen. Liu Guozhen is a table tennis player, and he is the 2 times world champion for the Chinese men's team.
Got it right.
Tennis Chinese is impressive. Xu Yaping. Xu Yaping is a kayak athlete. She has won many titles, but she's the world champion for women's 200 meter, 500 meter, and 1,000 meter kayak championship. Okay.
We may have given it away.
We have already given it away. Ruo Shijuan. Ruo is the most celebrated Chinese women's swimmer. Her highlight was a gold medal at the Athens Olympic Games for 100-meter breaststroke. Regents. Regents is a shooter. She's the world champion for women's 40 rounds air pistol championship. Wang Bingyu. Wang Bingyu is the captain of the Chinese curling team, and her team won the bronze medal for the Vancouver Olympics, Winter Olympics, and she also won numerous titles for the World Championships. Regents. Sui is a rhythmic gymnast. Her highlight was a silver medal of the Beijing Olympic Games in the rhythmic gymnastics. Last but not the least, Coach Lu Xiaodong. Lu is the is the captain of this team, and he's the national coach for the Chinese Taekwondo team. And his highlight of his achievement is his student, Chen Zhong, won the gold medal of the Beijing Olympics for women's Taekwondo. Thank you, Chancellor Martin. Thank you, President Riley.
Thank you all very much for your attention. We're done. And thanks again, Shishia, to the student athletes who have just been a fabulous first team. Thank you.
Look at that.
For Biddy to play piano and write Chinese scripts. And I'll have a lot of time.
Thank you, or Shishi, Chancellor Martin, and thank you to all your colleagues. This was great, wasn't it? Typically, President Riley and I share with you our President's Report on Friday morning, but as your agenda suggests, we have a special guest tomorrow, Terry Hartle with the American Council on Education, who's going to lead us in, I think, an interesting series of discussions about higher education in America today. So with that in mind, we're going to break with tradition, sort of the rebels that we are, and do the President's Report this morning. Before I do, I just wanted to recognize Regent Spector for a moment.
I just want to say that I'm very pleased to be back with you, but more importantly, I want to thank all of you collectively and individually for your phone calls, cards, flowers, everything you did. It was of great support and great help, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mike. The report of the Wisconsin Technical College System has been provided. Are there any questions or comments, Regents, on that board? Our Regents Stan Davis, Evers, Smith, and Vasquez. I just have a few brief remarks before turning it over to President Riley. Last month, as the board knows, we were privileged to welcome Governor-elect Scott Walker to the meeting of the board just 2 days after the election. Clearly, many changes are afoot in this town and at the state capitol these days, and we are all learning the lay of the land and getting familiar with the new faces and new ideas. Since then, I know that President Riley and his staff have been reaching out to the governor-elect's transition team in many ways, helping to establish open lines of communication on a number of fronts, including briefings about this board's agenda for this month and some of the key issues we'll be addressing. At the same time, similar conversations are happening with legislators in both houses. Many of those conversations focus on specific issues such as the work of the Legislative Council Study Committee, committees that are examining issues like workforce development and financial aid, where the UW system has a strong interest and a central role. Other meetings connect to our call for a new compact between the UW system and the state of Wisconsin as laid out in the Principles for Progress and Prosperity document. Just an update on that front, former Regent President Jay Smith and I are in the process of updating this principles paper to include the latest figures and developments, and to turn the conversation in that paper from one around the elections to one directly relevant to the 2011-13 state budget, and the overall future of the new compact between the state of Wisconsin and its public university. This new principles document, we are calling it version 2.0. We hope there won't be a 3.0. Should be ready for release by early next week, and we'll be sending you all a copy. One change to this document is the addition of a few excerpts from editorials we've seen around the state as a result of version 1.0. One of these editorials from the November 27th Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel is included in your folders. The editorial reiterated, and I think was very encouraging, in the sense of saying that it is time for a broader discussion of what it means to be a state university. The Journal-Sentinel editorial board put it this way: does being a state university mean state-supported or simply state-located? And I think that's a fair question to be asked and answered, hopefully, in the months ahead. Couple just notes. I recently had the opportunity to speak before the Rotary Club in Appleton, Wisconsin, where many members of the Fox Valley community were there and expressed their support for what we're doing. I wanted to thank Dean Jim Perry, who is he here? Who joined me on that day and helped set up the visit and joined me for lunch with the Appleton Rotarians. I will say, you will be pleased to know that folks in Appleton like to sing at the Rotary meeting, and so there were several songs. It was right before Thanksgiving, so there were Thanksgiving songs. It was quite a little musical interlude. Since I can neither sing nor dance without embarrassing myself, it made for a few uncomfortable moments, but we got through that and had a good conversation with the Rotarians there. I was also pleased to be invited to be a guest on Up Front, television news program with Mike Boucher, which many of you know, to discuss the new landscape in Madison, and we talked a bit about UW's fight for its life and our efforts for stable funding and increased flexibility from the state. On the federal front, we wanted to congratulate the men and women who have been elected and or re-elected to represent Wisconsin in the U.S. Congress. That includes re-elected U.S. Representatives Ryan, Baldwin, Kind, Moore, Sensenbrenner, and Petri, and our newly elected representatives, United States Senator Johnson and U.S. Representatives Duffy and Ribble. The new Congress that begins its work next year will have some serious responsibilities. We obviously have this little economic situation that seems to be getting a lot of attention, and they are going to need to focus on finding ways to spur economic growth and create jobs. They will also, I think, have some important and, in some cases, unfinished business in continuing to support a world-class education system so that people of all generations and all income levels will have a chance to succeed. There will be important debates and decisions to be made when it comes to support for Pell Grants so our students can continue to remain in college and attend college during difficult economic times. And unless the United States Senate does something that's somewhat that's not being predicted, they will have the opportunity to consider the DREAM Act so that 55,000 young people who currently cannot attend college will have a chance to live the American dream. I suspect we may even hear a word or two about earmarks in that process, and hopefully we might also hear at the same time some of the benefits that have come to our campuses in this state as a result of that method of appropriating federal dollars. It will be, I'm sure, an interesting and illuminating period of time in Washington. And with that, I will stop and turn over to President Riley for his report.
Thank you, President Pruitt, and good morning, everybody. Happy to see you all. As President Pruitt mentioned, we continue to find some new venues where we can invite people to revisit and perhaps rethink the relationship between Wisconsin and its public university. I visited Madison Downtown Rotary Club on December 1st, which Regent Bartell was kind enough to arrange to speak to them on this topic. Wisconsin, I was there to capture the presentation, and 2 weeks before that, Biddy had spoken to the Rotary Club and some other service groups here with her message about the New Badger Partnership and how the Madison campus could benefit from efforts to provide the UW system with greater administrative flexibility. There was singing at Madison as well, not to be outshone by Appleton. So, earlier this week, we announced that the UW system campuses reported almost 182,000 students this fall, an increase of more than 2,800 over last year's final enrollments, and an all-time record, another all-time record for the UW system. Over the past decade now, UW system enrollment has grown about 11%, representing a gain of over 18,000 students. As I said in Monday's news release, our success in this area is particularly noteworthy in a time of tight resources. So we take pride in our productivity gains and efficiency, and we'll keep a close eye on the bottom line. At the same time, we know that maintaining educational quality and achieving the growth agenda goal of 80,000 additional graduates by 2025 will require state reinvestment and new flexibility to employ more efficient business practices. These big, necessary, major value-added gains cannot be achieved on the margin. While we were preparing to make that formal announcement about record enrollments on Monday, I was welcoming 60 or so people to the concluding session of the Wisconsin Economics Summits. This was the culmination of a shared effort to help develop a bold strategy for Wisconsin's economic revitalization. As one of the conveners of these summits, the university had the opportunity to be part of a briefing for Governor-elect Walker and members of his transition team about our vision for job creation and economic development. The final Be Bold prosperity strategy that resulted from the summits included many recommendations that aligned very, very nicely with our growth agenda, our call for new flexibility, and the need for higher education to play a central role in boosting the state's economy. A copy of the report from that effort and the recommendations is in your folders. I'm proud to say that UW chancellors, provosts, faculty, and staff participated in every planning meeting and every summit. That speaks to how seriously we take our role in economic development and how strongly we want to facilitate positive change in the state of Wisconsin. On another front, our chancellors and other UW leaders have been working very hard on campus and in their communities on behavior issues this fall. As we've likely all seen in the news reports, we have had some just horrendous incidents on a number of our campuses this year. This is something we cannot and will not accept. On behalf of the UW system, we issued a call for civility in an open letter signed by all of our chancellors and me. Our campus communities all across the state are actively engaged in addressing these issues, whether through pre-existing programs or new initiatives from the grassroots, like the recent rally at UW-Platteville, the upcoming Not Here at Stout event to be held Monday at UW-Stout, the system-wide conference on civility in everyday life to be held this February at UW-Oshkosh, and a number of events at UW-Whitewater as well and elsewhere. As we stated in our letter, and I want to quote this, nobody has a right to engage in abusive behavior, and we each have an obligation to challenge that kind of conduct whenever it occurs on our campus and in our communities. Plenty of positive things have been happening on our campuses as well, of course, and I want to share a few of those bits and pieces with you from around the system. Starting right here at Madison, I'm pleased to share the news that UW-Madison Associate Professor of Soil Science, Terry Balser, has been named the U.S. Professor of the Year. Just 4 professors are selected across the country each year, one each from doctoral, master's, and baccalaureate degree-granting institutions, and one from community colleges. So Balser is this year's winner in the Doctoral and Research Universities category. Balser, the U.S. Professors of the Year program, is sponsored by the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education and the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. Winners are selected for their impact on and involvement with undergraduates, a scholarly approach to teaching and learning, contributions to undergraduate education in the school, community, and profession, and support from colleagues and current and former students. As Dr. Balser herself puts it, quote, "I love seeing students ask tough questions and get discussions going, watching them be really creative in their answers and think really deeply about what we're doing and how it's useful to them outside class. I want them to learn things that they can use," she says. That, to me, is success, when students leave the classroom and still want to learn more, unquote. So congratulations to Dr. Balser. She's not the only faculty member at UW-Madison to garner high honors recently. Historian Bill Cronin has been elected president of the American Historical Association, a position considered one of the highest honors in that profession. Dr. Cronin, as many of you will know, is a national leader in studying past human interaction with the natural world, and he's the first environmental historian ever elected to lead the association. So congratulations to Dr. Cronin. And that's not all. UW-Madison chemistry professor, Bassam Shakashiri, has been voted president-elect of the American Chemical Society. Dr. Shakashiri, the first holder of the William T. Evu Distinguished Chair for the Wisconsin IDEA, will serve on the ACS Board of Directors for a 3-year term beginning in January. The American Chemical Society is the largest scientific organization in the world, with more than 160,000 members from academia, government, and industry. Dr. Shakashiri has been a member of ACS for 49 years, and he will become the 3rd ACS president from UW-Madison. So as many of you know, as he likes to say when he's advertising the wonderful chemistry demonstrations he does for school kids and their families, once upon a midnight jury in the lab of Shakashiri, et cetera, et cetera. So congratulations to Bassam, and hats off to Chancellor Martin and everybody at Madison for those honors. The College of Nursing at UW-Oshkosh recently marked its 40th anniversary. As it turns out, they had something more to celebrate than 4 decades of excellence. The day before the anniversary event, the college learned that its undergraduate and graduate programs had received the maximum 10-year reaccreditation, the highest honor given by the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education. UWO's College of Nursing has seen really tremendous growth in recent years through providing innovative program options such as the Accelerated BSN. This is a program that allows individuals who have a bachelor's degree in another area to earn a BSN within 12 months. In its first 40 years, the College of Nursing graduated 5,000 BSN students. It will now take less than 20 years to graduate the next 5,000. For more bragging rights, the college also has a 100% pass rate on its family nurse practitioner exam, a record that's been maintained since 1999. So this is an area, obviously, where Oshkosh and a number of our other campuses are responding in a big way to a real need in the state. So congratulations to Dean Rosemary Smith, Chancellor Rick Wells, and their UWO colleagues. We also have news from the UW colleges, where a team of 5 scholars from there has been chosen to participate in a national study to determine how to update the 2-year Associate of Arts and Sciences degree to keep it valuable to students in a rapidly changing world. The colleges is one of 32 institutions chosen out of 140 applicants to serve on the national group that's sponsored by the Association of American Colleges and Universities. Provost Greg Lampe reports that the study will look at how teaching and learning are changing because of technology and demographic shifts, and what students will need to know tomorrow to be effective citizens. This is an important study on that foundational degree, and I think it's a real tribute to our Wisconsin institutions that our voice will be part of this national effort. So congratulations to Interim Chancellor Maura Van Kekerix and Provost Lampe and their UW Colleges colleagues. From UW-Milwaukee, we hear that physicist Xavier Siemens has been awarded 2 prestigious grants from the National Science Foundation, both related to his work in the international effort to detect gravitational waves. In case you wondered, gravitational waves are ripples in space-time produced when massive objects in space move violently. The direct detection of these gravitational waves will simultaneously test our understanding of fundamental physics and provide a new means to study the universe. In addition to receiving a $500,000 Early Career Development Award, the NSF's most prestigious award for young researchers, Siemens also is a senior investigator on a $6.5 million grant from NSF's Partnerships for International Research and Education. Congratulations to Dr. Siemens and Interim Chancellor Lovell and the UW-Milwaukee campus community on that. I'm also pleased to tell you that Wisconsin Public Television, which we, UW Extension, partners with the Educational Communications Board to administer, was honored with 3 Emmy Awards last month from the Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. WPT was honored for 2 programs related to Vietnam veterans and also for news reporting on allegedly fraudulent child care providers in Wisconsin. The 3-part Wisconsin-Vietnam War Stories, which this board is very familiar with, was honored for outstanding achievement for documentary programs, historic significance. Meanwhile, the LZ Lambeau Tribute Ceremony was awarded outstanding achievement for special events programs edited. This board has had the privilege of seeing parts of these programs, and I think we'd all agree that these honors are well-deserved. So congratulations to James Steinbach, Director of Television, Interim Chancellor Van Kekerix, and many others involved in these special productions. You all know that I have a considerable interest in poetry, so it should come as no surprise that the next item of news caught my attention. Not long ago, Governor Doyle named Bruce Deflefsen of Westfield as Wisconsin's new poet laureate. Mr. Deflefsen is a graduate of UW-La Crosse and earned a master's degree at UW-Oshkosh. His most recent collection of poems is Breather from Fireweed Press in 2009. Garrison Keillor chose two of his poems from that collection, When Somebody Calls After 10 p.m. and Suicide Aside, for his radio program, Keillor's radio program, The Writer's Almanac, which many of you will be familiar with. And I just thought, because it's such an appropriate poem for the time of year we are in Wisconsin now, with the kind of long nights and seasonal weather we're having, I'd read you the poem When Somebody Calls After 10 p.m. by Bruce Deflefsen. When somebody calls after 10 p.m. and you live in Wisconsin and you're snug in your bed, then all's I can tell you, somebody better be missing, somebody better had a baby, or somebody better be dead. UW Stout recently celebrated the grand opening of its state-of-the-art Jarvis Hall. The $43.2 million building is home to Stout's College of Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics. It's STEM college. Chancellor Sorensen called it a very, very happy day at UW Stout. This is perhaps the most important and significant building in the history of this campus. The building has nearly 160,000 square feet of new and renovated space, state-of-the-art labs and classrooms. And other kudos for that building, Focus on Energy has presented Stout with more than $78,000 in incentive grants to recognize the energy-saving measures instituted as part of the project. So congratulations to Chancellor Sorensen and the UW Stout campus community. I'm also pleased to share the news that at the recent annual conference for women engineers, UW-Platteville received recognition for the highest retention rate of women in engineering in the nation at 77.8%. Starting in the fall of 2009, the university's Society of Women Engineers started hosting a welcome for new members, and that has continued each semester. Mentoring relationships and building a personal community experience are key to that success, according to society leaders. One member pointed out that she'd made it a goal last year to know the names of everyone who walked into the Mentor Center. That kind of attention obviously is paying off. So congratulations to Chancellor Shields and the folks at UW-Platteville on that. Last month, the fourth Wisconsin Idea Forum took place, hosted this time by UW-Milwaukee. As its name suggests, that forum is the Wisconsin Idea in Action, tapping into the UW's longstanding tradition of leveraging our resources to benefit the citizens of Wisconsin. Topics addressed in the previous forums have included alcohol abuse, financial aid policy issues, and building sustainable communities. In Milwaukee, the subject was water. Very appropriate, given that UWM is fast becoming a major hub in addressing water issues both in the state and beyond. Several regents were in attendance for at least part of that forum, President Pruitt, I understand, and Regent Jessica Schwellenberg. So I'm told it was a very successful, constructive meeting of the minds, discussions on things from groundwater issues to aging water infrastructure to climate change. So hats off to Interim Chancellor Lovell and Mark Harris, the acting dean of the School of Freshwater Sciences, and the rest of the team there at UW-Milwaukee on that issue. UW-Oshkosh recently hosted the 7th annual New North Summit, where about 700 leaders from throughout northeastern Wisconsin got together to foster collaboration, share success stories, and map out a game plan for the continued prosperity of the region. And you'll recall that we had a presentation from New North leaders at the October board meeting when we met there in Oshkosh. Featured speakers at the recent summit included Governor-elect Scott Walker and Mark Murphy, President and CEO of the Green Bay Packers. So by all accounts, that was a very productive summit, and kudos to Chancellor Wells and everybody else at Oshkosh. Yesterday, December 8th, in case you hadn't heard, Governor Doyle declared it to be James Huff Stout Remembrance Day in honor of the 100th anniversary of the death of the founder of UW-Stout. For a quick history refresher, James Huff Stout, an executive in his father's lumber company, had an early vision for higher education that introduced manual training and domestic science. This eventually led to the founding in 1891 of the institution that would become known as UW-Stout. More than a century later, Stout continues to prepare its graduates for successful careers and fulfilling lives as Wisconsin's now Polytechnic University. James Stout, by the way, was a member of the state Senate in Wisconsin from 1894 to 1910, and also served as a member of the UW Board of Regents. So congratulations to Chancellor Sorensen and the UW-Stout community. Finally, some sporting news. We're going to talk some football, but not for the moment anything involving the color red. Instead, we'd like to give a shout-out to the defending Division III national champion UW-Whitewater Warhawks, who are moving ever closer to taking that title yet again. When I was a kid growing up in New York and a Yankee fan, people hated the Yankees because they were too good. So I think Whitewater is getting into that category now. The undefeated Warhawks, riding a 28-game winning streak, are meeting the Wesley College Wolverines on Saturday in the semifinal matchup being played at Wesley's home field in Dover, Delaware. I know you can't count your chickens too soon, but the Hawks have not lost a road game against a Division III opponent in more than 6 years. So that certainly bodes well. The winner of Saturday's game will then go up against either Mount Union of Ohio, you remember them, or Minnesota's Bethel University in the national championship Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl on December 18th in Salem, Virginia. So we wish the best to head coach Lance Leipold and his team, and Chancellor Telfer and all the Warhawks, and we'll be following the action closely. And of course, there is another gridiron matchup that's generated a little interest around here recently, and that definitely involves a rush on anything and everything red. Yes, Bucky and the Wisconsin Badgers, with evidently hordes of faithful fans, are headed to Pasadena in a few weeks to represent the Big Ten in the 97th annual Rose Bowl game. There, as most of us know now, the Badgers will tangle with the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs. Chancellor Martin, I tremble to think what the Badger Band is going to do with that nickname, but we'll see, I guess. For the Badgers, this is the 6th appearance in the Rose Bowl, their first since 2000. To Coach Brett Bielema, Chancellor Martin, and the rest of the team, we can only say, go Big Red. So that's my news for today, and I'll pass it back to you, President Pruitt. Should I roll right in? All right. You may have seen or heard in some news reports that last month marked the official launch of the University of Wisconsin system, eCampus. This is something we're very excited about. Online learning is booming these days, and for good reason. It offers a level of convenience that's very attractive, especially to adults who may be interested in pursuing new fields of study or coming back to finish a degree that they started a while back. This is a market that we're keenly interested in as part of our More Graduates for Wisconsin initiative and the drive to grow the number of well-prepared college graduates in our state. More specifically, we know that to achieve our goal, we must provide more opportunities for non-traditional students to access college courses and degree programs while still attending to their work and family and other life obligations. The University of Wisconsin system eCampus is a central portal that provides access now to more than 70 diverse online degree programs and certificate programs offered through 26 campuses of the UW system. That's a lot of online programs. That's a lot of institutions involved. The eCampus portal is great because it simplifies the student search process an awful lot. Students can now find all the online opportunities available across the UW system in one place. So here to lead us on a presentation on a service that, once again, I think demonstrates our responsiveness to the needs of our learners is UW Colleges and Extension Interim Chancellor Marv Van Kecker. Marv.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Is this on? Can you hear me all right? Okay, great. I really appreciate the invitation to share with you the University of Wisconsin System eCampus. It's an important and exciting initiative that will benefit, we believe, thousands of students across Wisconsin and thousands more across the nation. Everyone knows the role of the University of Wisconsin System as one of the largest public higher education institutions, and a place where many students can pursue a quality education and in all of our communities. As you all know, in our society, technology has become a vital part of managing our lives, our families, and our homes. It's no different for learning. With this in mind, the University of Wisconsin Extension and University of Wisconsin Colleges has collaborated with UW System's 2- and 4-year institutions to expand access to online learning to our state residents, with a particular focus on making opportunities available to non-traditional adult students. The University of Wisconsin System eCampus is a new comprehensive approach to the online learning opportunities that we provide across our system. It serves as a gateway, and you're going to hear this word, I think, a few times, a gateway to a real University of Wisconsin education and an experience that fits into people's real lives. Before we show you the gateway site, I want to be sure and recognize some of the leadership of UW Extension and colleges folks. In particular, Provost Christine Quinn. Would you stand? Thank you. Vice Chancellor and Provost for the colleges, Greg Lampe. David Scable, the Dean of the University of Wisconsin Extension's Division of Continuing Education Outreach and E-Learning. This project could not have happened without their dedication and effort. The University of Wisconsin System eCampus is the result of collaborative work between our two institutions that took place over many months. And as you may know, that the primary mission of UW Colleges and Extension is to maximize access to education everywhere in the state. In that respect, we are a modern embodiment of the Wisconsin idea, and we have a special emphasis with our attention to non-traditional students. So it's natural for our two institutions to come together in this effort. Of course, we're very proud of this University of Wisconsin System eCampus result, but I do want to acknowledge that we did not do this alone. Colleges and Extension were part of a UW System distance learning work group, which also included representatives from the other 2-year, 4-year institutions and campuses. This is truly a system-wide initiative, as it should be, as we look at providing access to our residents, for our residents. So thank you, President Riley, for your support. And I want to thank all the people who worked together over a considerable period of time to make this happen. And I'm excited about the UW System eCampus creating important learning opportunities for Wisconsin residents. That's what we are about. So at this time, I'd like to invite Rovi Brennan. He is the Interim Associate Dean of Online Learning to say a few words about the University of Wisconsin System eCampus and to give you a demonstration of the site. Rovi.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming and giving us this opportunity to give you a demonstration today. Before I actually show the site, let me give you a couple of contextualizing thoughts here to describe why we're doing this. Nationally, distance education for degree seekers is up by about 16%, and that's an annual rate that we see continuing. Across our state, we see some similar numbers. Our UW Colleges online associate degree has grown by 10% in the last year. And in some of our degree programs, we've seen extremely dramatic growth, especially those providing the skills we need to help move our workforce into the 21st century, like our Bachelor's of Science degree in Sustainable Management, which has grown by 66% over the last year, and that's a fully online program. The UW System eCampus allows students to easily find these programs and more than 70 other programs and certificates like them that are available across all of our campuses. These include master's degrees, bachelor's degrees. We also have a couple of doctoral programs, the associate degree, and a number of certificates. Let me talk about a couple of things that are really crucial to this initiative and why it is so powerful. First of all, online offers the flexibility and convenience of anytime, anywhere learning, and that's especially important for adult learners. As the leader of the development team, we thought a lot about the people who would use the site. We thought about the working mother, perhaps carrying 2 jobs, needing to advance her career through education. We also thought about perhaps the soon-to-be returning veteran who might need a jump start on a new degree program. And then we combine those sorts of scenarios with thinking about the power of online collaboration and interaction. And the fact that these two very different people living perhaps in different parts of the world may be coming together in a virtual classroom offered in a program through one of our campuses. And we wanted to make sure that they were able to find the programs that met their individual needs as they went out and looked at what was available. But the most important thing we wanted to say with this initiative is something that no other online entity can say anywhere in the world. And that is that this initiative represents the power and the quality of a University of Wisconsin degree. And that's really, really important in today's marketplace. Let me talk just a moment about the development process. In addition to the collaboration among all the campuses, we worked very hard on the development team with potential students. We did multiple rounds of usability testing with this site. We made substantial structural changes to make sure that the site met the need of busy working adults so they could find what they were looking for quickly and easily, and that it also represented all of our institutions equally in the way that we presented our programs. And with that being said, let me show you just a little bit of the site. So we were very proud. We have a little bit of a limitation here in terms of screen size. But you notice that the top part is all about what it means to get a degree. And our learners felt very empowered by this slideshow that works its way through. And we'll let that go by. The heart of the program, or the heart of the site, is obviously the online programs. This was actually one of the changes we made in response to our users. We had Getting Started first, and our adult learners said, I want to know what you have. What kind of degree programs are available across your campuses? And so we put that at the heart of the menu bar. And if you go to the online degree program site, you can see a very simple listing of our programs. I'll take you through just to the bachelor's degree. It really is kind of surprising when you see all of these in one place, how many fully online degrees are available across our system. And this is, again, just bachelor's degree programs that are offered. I mentioned earlier the Sustainable Management Program. We have had a team go through each of our programs and give a very similar looking page so that it's very easy for students to click through, compare programs, look at what they offer, and then off to the side here, and again we'll have to scroll a little bit to the side on this particular screen, but you can go straight to the program's website, and at that point they're in the hands of the campus. And that's really what we want, is to drive more traffic to our campus websites. We've made it easy to apply. We've got a very easy Apply Now button that takes students step by step, very simply. Again, busy people, they don't have time to sort through a lot of the typical application processes. We've tried to take some of that complexity. We didn't get rid of it, but we've masked it a little bit with some easy-to-understand steps. Now let me talk just a minute about what we've seen so far in terms of results. This is very preliminary. The site's been online about 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, we've had, and this is up to last Friday actually, 13.9 million media impressions of the site. It has gotten a lot of coverage across the state. We have had 6,000 unique visitors to the site in 3 weeks. We have had 100 students, actually more than 100 students, that have gotten in direct contact with us. And I was actually with some of our folks answering the phones one day, and a call came through from someone who said, literally, she said, I was just about to enroll in a for-profit out-of-state institution because I didn't know you had this many degree programs. I'm going to enroll in a UW institution now. And so that happened just within the last 2 weeks. So we're already seeing those kind of results out of having this portal available. So I think we're very excited to see this up. I would invite you all to take a look at it on your own time at ecampus.wisconsin.edu, and we'd love to hear your feedback as we move forward with this new initiative.
Thanks, Ravi. Certainly. We are well under, yes. Yeah, and in fact, one of the things that we're trying to do with this is to make sure our residents know that there are less costly options that are available and less costly access points to University of Wisconsin degrees and programs. I would also now like to introduce Laura Pedrick, Special Assistant to the Provost, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Laura serves as the co-chair of UW-Milwaukee's Online Program Council, assists academic departments with the approval process for online degrees, and was a member of the UW System Distance Learning Work Group. Laura.
Well, thank you. Along with our colleagues at other UW institutions, including UW-La Crosse, Whitewater, Superior, Platteville, Madison, we are all excited to see the eCampus launch because we believe that it's going to increase awareness of our programs and access to those programs. As a working group, we developed a set of guiding principles that included that the eCampus would expand educational opportunities, it would develop new markets, that it would be extremely user-friendly, that students would quickly be able to find the things they're looking for, and that it would maximize the impact of the shared UW brand throughout the system. And I think from the demo that Rovi gave, you can see that the live site does reflect those guiding principles. Now, at UW-Milwaukee, we're also seeing very, very strong growth. In a recent year, we increased our online enrollments 64%. And those courses fill first of all of our courses. So there's increasing demand for online, and as others have indicated, to reach the goal of the growth agenda, we are going to need to reach adult learners through online programs. But it's an increasingly crowded educational marketplace. We do know, though, that students know and trust UW institutions. We recently did a series of focus groups with adults. So we did online focus groups of online learners. It was very interesting. And I have a few quotes briefly from them that reinforce some of the things that have been said. Here's a quote from a student. "When I say I received my degree from UWM, it means something. And I am glad to see that UW is well ahead of the times in realizing that working adults want to advance their careers too and may not have the luxury of quitting their jobs. And last, if there wasn't an online program, I wouldn't have made as much progress toward my degree as I have." So the UW eCampus is going to help us get the word out about our programs, but I think the great level of care, the user testing of the website sends a very subtle message to all users that UW institutions have a great array of programs and that we understand the needs and motivations of online learners. Thanks.
Well, thank you to Rovi and Laura, and we're, as you can see, really excited about launching this. I think it has great potential in terms of making opportunities, learning opportunities, real degree programs from the University of Wisconsin available to our citizens. So we'll be pleased to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have a question, but I would like to say that I think that this is very, very important, and I find it very exciting. And I hope that we'll have some reports at various times about what is happening, because I just think we need to know that and support it.
Thank you.
And my question is around quality control. And I know it's maybe different in different campuses, but this is a different way of providing instruction, and I'm just curious how the different campuses, or through the portal, we ensure that the quality is as good as it is in face-to-face instruction.
The portal really provides the access point to the programs that are being offered at the campus level, where the quality control is really under the faculty who are involved in putting those programs together, working in teams to develop the online learning. So I think that the answer to your question is really the one of individual faculty and faculty members being directly involved and comfortable with the quality that they have within these programs. Again, we're providing, in many cases, from campus to campus and somewhat centrally as well, some design opportunities, some of the opportunities to work very directly with faculty in designing these programs. So I think the quality control pieces are certainly there. I don't know if you would you because you're more directly involved in that.
Sure. At UW-Milwaukee, we're tremendously proud of the quality of our online programs, and we have, through our nationally known Learning Technology Center staff, we have a very robust faculty development process that actually the national organization Sloan C uses our model and our instructors to deliver that program nationally. We've also launched a peer evaluation core, that is, experienced online teachers can mentor and evaluate and help address any quality issues for the new online teacher. One of the core messages for any faculty member doing online is that to simply lift up your content from your face-to-face lecture and drop it into the online environment is not going to work. It's going to be a tremendously flat experience for the students. What makes online wonderful is the degree of interactivity. When we did those focus groups, we heard over and over again from students that there's no place to hide in an online class. In a face-to-face class, you might have a sense from the instructor that it's a hugely interactive dialogue, but in actuality, 6 people might be talking. In an online class, everyone participates, and that's a significant difference. The modalities are different. But I think you'd find that at every UW campus, there are learning technologists and a growing cadre of experienced faculty who are teaching the online courses.
Now, there's one other part of this that I'd like to address. Quite often the quality control issue is directed very much at the instruction, but in fact, in online programs, the quality control piece really involves many aspects of an institution, not just the instructional component. It has to do with the student services pieces, the advising, and all of the things that make for a quality education. All of those have to really be put online and made available. You may be interested in this. I actually just completed working with a doctoral student at the University of Nebraska and putting together a quality control piece that will measure benchmarking in a whole variety of areas in distance learning. And I had the experience of having never met this person, but when I flew to a conference recently, her picture and story were included in the Flight magazine, indicating how important online learning has become. So this is a little different world in terms of how things move forward.
Questions? If not,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are going to break for lunch in just a minute. And that lunch will be held in the Great Hall on the 4th floor, and then we'll resume business with committee meetings at 1 p.m. But we neglected to show a brief video as part of Chancellor Martin's China presentation. That video was produced by John Roach Projects for UW-Madison, and Chancellor Martin would like us to see this video and would like to share this video. It's 3 minutes in length before we go to lunch. So can somebody cue the video? Wherever that might be. It's on. Well, that's good.
Competitive athletics in China is developing at a rapid pace, and in turn, there is a need for high-level talents now more than ever. So there's been a desire to send world champions and Olympic champions and their coaches abroad for further education.
So I start to think about maybe we should host this group of athletes at UW-Madison. We are such a great university here, and the Beijing Sports University is the best in China, and hosting China's top athletes, their national pride, would be a great signal to send to the Chinese universities and the Chinese public.
After this idea was formed, Professor G was instrumental in making this program into a reality. He met with both the Vice Chancellor as well as Chancellor Martin to recommend our group and to introduce this win-win situation in which both universities could greatly benefit from each other.
So very quickly, Chancellor Martin said, we'll do it.
Here we have beautiful surroundings, a great atmosphere, and harmony among the people. It's also a very safe place to be, and I feel that Madison really meets all of these standards.
It's like a beautiful oil painting with layers upon layers of sophisticated detail, also very pragmatic.
150 years of history and culture, built upon the hard work of many, deeply impressed and attracted me.
In our classes, we were introduced to a concept formulated by a former university president, which says the university should serve and influence society.
The Wisconsin idea became one of the most influential concepts in the history of American education. So I could see that UW has a very deeply rooted tradition of university culture.
UW-Madison became the most talked about university in China all of a sudden. And other than its great academic programs and beautiful campus, now we're known for our friendship towards the Chinese and towards the Chinese athletes.
I think the biggest goal of our studies here at the University of Wisconsin is to learn about new concepts of American athletics, theories in sports management, as well as their practical models.
Advanced expertise in American sporting sciences and the integration of athletics and academics are all things China can learn from and model after.
So this has a long-term impact on the way that they prepare their athletes to function as a successful individual beyond their athletic life.
Our hope is to have the 9 of us, the first batch of 9, be an experimental project, a project that we hope will be able to continue in the future, and one that will improve the level of education among Chinese athletes. So we're hopeful that this program will see new faces each year in the future.
Lunch in the Great Hall, 4th floor Central. We'll see you back at 1.